Hi, everybody. It's Melissa Campanelli, co-founder of the Women in Retail Leadership Circle. And we are so excited today to have one of my favorite people, the CEO and founder of Shine Strategy, and also happens to be a Women in Retail Leadership board member, Cindy Marshall. How are you doing, Cindy?
I'm doing great, and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Melissa.
Yes, definitely. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad it finally worked out.
Me too.
So I'd love to talk to you about a bunch of different things. Obviously, as a board member, you're very involved in our group, and I don't know if everyone actually has had an opportunity to get to know you like the way that we do. So why don't we start there? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your career journey, and so how you ended up where you are now?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my career has really been focused on marketing. I always say I was brought up through the marketing channels. I have a passion for the right brain creativity coupled with the left brain analytics, which is one reason I just love marketing. I started out my first 5 years in publishing, where I launched the Walking magazine and handled all the acquisition circulation for Inc. magazine. And so at the publishing side of the business, I was using both sides of my brain and really loved it. Then I moved on to catalog and retail brands, where I spent a decade running marketing for J. Jill, Appleseeds, ran the LL Bean Visa credit card program, and launched a new brand for them called Freeport Studio. And then this wonderful World Wide Web came out, and I added digital to the mix, where I ran marketing for multi-channel brands such as Ross Simon's, Vermont Country Store, Performance Bicycle, and was also the chief marketing officer for Merkel's specialty retail division. And then I launched Shine Strategy 7 years ago as a CMO for hire.
Perfect. So what is it? I mean, you sort of talked about this a little bit, but what is it about marketing? Obviously, marketing's been a big sort of focus throughout all of your different careers and different places where you work. So what is it about marketing that you're so attracted to?
You know, I love, first of all, I love shopping. I'm a huge shopper, but I love knowing your customer and knowing who the right customer is and delivering the products that they're passionate about, because I always call it the happy box dance, growing up in direct and getting the direct mail packages. And you get so excited. It's just like when you go into the retail store and you're buying your purchases. And I love the excitement that customers get when you match a really good product to them. And I love the data insights and making decisions from data. So to me, numbers never lie. And being able to put a program in place and test it using testing algorithms and rules, and then seeing it grow, which is kind of where I got my foundation in circulation at Inc. magazine. And you test something and it takes off, and then you go, oh, let's do more of this. And I just love the whole aspect of driving the revenue and seeing the customers delight about their product.
Great. Excellent. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier, so Shine Strategy, at your company, you're a CMO for hire. So can you just briefly talk about what that means? Or?
Sure. So I started out the Shine Strategy as like a 3-month project for National Geographic. And it turned into 3.5 years. And next thing I know, I was getting referrals from people that I knew in the industry, for companies like Vera Bradley and PacSun and Hanes and Bowden and a lot of different brands. And I came up with this whole process called the Shine Roadmap. And what we do as a CMO for hire, when you're hiring a new head of marketing, you come in and you evaluate the people, the process, and all the media channels. And I actually created this Shine Roadmap, and have figured out how to do this in a 3-month period, where I'll come in and look at 2 years worth of data and then forecast 3 years down the road. And what happens is I do a gap assessment, and I look at what needs to be optimized. And from that, I've been able to really drive this business of Shine and as a CMO for hire. And I've got a number of subcontractors that I bring in. And so what I'm working on right now would be things like Vera Bradley. I've been with them. It's my second bout of work with them. I'm working with Bowden, who's a UK brand. Mm-hmm. They have women's apparel and Mini Bowden. And I've got some other smaller companies that I coach. And I just finished a 3-year stint as a CMO for a brand called Annie Selke. That's a home decor bedding and rug business.
Well, that's so interesting. So you sort of do long-term consulting projects, it sounds like, for several years where you're working on with one client.
Yes, but I've also done, like in the past year and a half, I've done 4 RFPs for companies that are looking for a new CDP, so a customer data platform. And so sometimes that's just a way to get in the door. And so I've done that for $1.5 billion hotel hospitality brand. I've done that for another $2 billion apparel brand. And, people have been coming to me for advice on it because I've done a lot of database builds and I've gotten to know the CDP space very well. And I'm also a strategic advisor to a couple of companies and on this fabulous board at Women in Retail.
Great. Okay, so I wanted to switch gears a minute here, and I wanted to kind of delve into a little bit of a difficult subject. I hope that you're okay with this. But I recently read a blog post that you wrote on a website, I believe it was called Boomers for Us, that outlined your experiences having breast cancer. So I didn't know if you felt comfortable sharing that with us, because I know our audience would love to hear about how you got through that. Do you feel comfortable talking about that, or?
Absolutely. No, I'm very comfortable talking about it. I've always been very comfortable about it. And I'll tell you, just a brief portion of my story, but it was back in December 2011. I was 48 years old and very healthy and vibrant and the top of my game in the business world. And one day, everything just stopped when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And you literally, nothing else matters. And you realize, the most important things in life. And you go through the shock and then you go through the fear. And I ended up getting diagnosed with what they call triple negative invasive ductal carcinoma. I had stage 2B. They actually do have A's and B's and C's on stages. They found 4 lumps in my left breast, and I had actually felt them, and it was painful. And I finally said, I'm going to the doctor. And people always told me that breast cancer wasn't painful. And sure enough, I go in for a biopsy that same day and find out the next day that I've got cancer. And you're like, what? This can't be. This can't be. And so I'll take a long story and, make it short, but you go right through the shock and you get, meet all the different doctors. And I had several different opinions. And, at that time I was living in North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and I was near UNC and Duke. And I got, found some really great doctors at University of North Carolina and Chapel Hill. And that's where I started my whole process of getting better. And I'm proud to say that I'm, 7 years cancer-free now. But the very first thing, do you want me to tell you more about a little bit of the story?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If you feel
so the very first thing I did was cut my hair because, the doctor said to me, given that I had this triple negative, it's the fastest growing and most aggressive kind of cancer. We know you have to have chemotherapy. And there was no question about surgery. I couldn't even discuss that. It was like, you have to go into chemotherapy right away. And I had to do 16 weeks of chemotherapy. And so you focus on getting your lymph nodes tested, getting your port put in, and, cutting your hair because you don't want it all to come out in clumps. And I had pretty long hair at that time. And then the great news was I became what they call a pathological response. I had a positive response to the chemo, and halfway through my tumors, the 4 tumors that actually, when they did the MRI, they more than doubled in size, and it was like half my breast was completely covered. And so they had said it all shrunk in half. And then I made the decision. I actually had that time during the 4 months of chemo to decide whether or not I was going to do a bilateral mastectomy or just remove my left breast. And I decided that I didn't want to, after being poked and prodded in both breasts, I didn't want to have mammograms again. And I just said, I'm going to take it all out and be done with it. And on May 30th of 2012, I had my bilateral mastectomy. And then I called it Build-A-Boob Summer, where I actually had, they're called skin stretchers. And I had those in place so that they could stretch my skin, just like when you get pregnant, because I didn't have enough of extra skin to do what they call a same stage surgery. So I called it Build-A-Boob because I basically came out, with a flat chest, and then they would pump in fluid every 3 weeks. And by you get to where you want to be, I'm like, all right, I was a B before, now I want to be a C. So by the end of the summer, after 3 months, I was at a C, and then they said, we're going to pump you up so you're 10% higher than you actually want to be. And then we waited a month, and they did an implant swap. And then we waited 3 months, and they put in my nipples, which is actually where they take your skin and they cut it and twist it and turn it. And then you wait 3 months and you get tattoos. And then you wait another 3 months and make sure the tattoos are correct.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really quite a process. And then, what everybody kept telling me was it's going to take you a long time to get through this, and, mentally and physically. And I kept ignoring them. But it really did take a couple of years just to rebuild my physical strength and my emotional recovery. That takes a while. And I just have one fun little story I'll tell you, is the doctors had said to me, when you first start going through this, the cancer is going to be sitting on your lap or it's in your chest. Eventually, in a year, you're going to move it to the passenger seat on the right of your car. And then you're going to move it to the back seat. And then eventually it's going to be in the rear view mirror. And then eventually you won't look in the mirror anymore. And I'm pleased to say that after I hit the 5-year mark, I really don't think about it. And I don't see it in my car or behind me.
Wow, that sounds like a great doctor who's really understands what you were going through. One thing I noticed from reading the blog and from you telling the story now is sort of how upbeat you were about the whole experience, which is so inspiring. How do you have any? How are you able to do that? What do you think was your that kept you looking forward and looking up and positive?
Well, I'll say a couple things. First, being a really strong businesswoman, I think all of us women out there who are, strong, powerful businesswomen, I tackled it like a project. Once I got through the shock and the fear, I was like, all right, I'm going to just make this happen. I'm going to get rid of it. And
right.
I decided that there was no use in worrying. Like if I worry all the time about something that's going on in work and not sleeping, it's just a waste of energy. So I kind of said, all right, I'm just going to get on this and I'm going to get better. And there's so much more to life to live. And then I really think I used the word believe a lot. I believed in myself, that I trusted myself, and I knew if I could just be positive, and think positive and believe that it's going to be gone and that I'm already okay, and let go of the fear, that I would survive this. And I think the third thing really was my childhood. I had a very positive childhood, and my parents instilled confidence into each of us. I have 3 brothers, and I will write about more of this. I have written about more of this in this book that I'm doing, but I really think the believe in yourself and the positivity has helped me.
Yeah, actually, I was actually going to ask you what your biggest lesson is from the phase, because obviously you want to take away something positive, and it sounds like it's that sort of, believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, believe everything's going to be okay. So,
well, I actually would say that it was what I learned. The biggest thing is that I learned how to take care of myself. And I always say it took me 48 years to put my own oxygen mask on. I was always taking care of everybody else. And I realized that I needed to stop and take care of me. And halfway through chemo, I finally gave into it and said, all right, I'm going to be feeling like crap for a couple of days. Just let it happen. And I had never really done that. I'd been taking care of everybody else, including all the teams that I've led over the years. And to me, that was the biggest lesson, is take care of yourself first and all else will fall into place. And, life's a gift, so you got to live it.
Fantastic. And so tell us a little bit about the book. Is that something that you could share with us in terms of?
Sure, absolutely. I was really ambitious about it. A year after all of my treatments, and I had come up to Vermont for 5 weeks just to write my book, and I ended up getting really busy with Orvis and some other brands, but I started this book called Short and Sassy, or Long and Luxurious. basically it's not about the hair, because that was my worst day during the whole thing when my hair fell out. And for us women, losing our hair and going bald, you never know what your head's going to look like.
Right.
But so I people wanted to know my story, and I had a blog on the Caring Bridge, and I had 10,000 hits in 6 months, and I was kind of blown away by it and how many people loved hearing from me. And so I just kept using that as a way to talk it out. And once you get it out of your head, it's like when you write it down or you talk about it, you can release it. And so I said, I'm just going to write this stuff in a book and teach, helpfully that my book will be to help other women. Like if I could help one woman with the book, to me, that's a success.
Yep. That's exactly what I was hoping would happen from this podcast too. If anyone's going through anything like this, it would be, it's great that you're there to help, that they can listen to you. I'd love to. I can't wait till that book comes out. You have to make sure to give us a copy.
Well, I'll tell you,
I know what it's like writing a book.
I have 150 pages done. I have the beginning and the end, and I just have a little bit in the middle I've got to finish. That's like, my book is set, like one chapter is what my story, and then the other next chapter is the stuff I never shared. And so I'm trying to just finish all that in the middle, and it's finding the time is hard.
Right. Perfect. Well, just one more question. What is one goal, or personal or professional, that you're focusing on this year that you might want to share with our listeners?
Well, I have more than one. I would have to say that when I came out of the Women in Retail Leadership Summit back in April in Miami, there were just so many amazing speakers, and one of the coaches, asked us all to think of a goal, and mine was to slow down and not rush. And I literally will stop now and go, wait. And I've worked on that really hard, to just make sure I can slow down and enjoy, because there's many times I don't know how to say no and I just take it all on. And so I really trying to just slow down and not rush. And then the other one is to stop apologizing, because I used to do that a lot, and I realized I don't have
to. Wow, I have that problem too. I'm surprised that you do that. I didn't notice that, but it's great that you've noticed it yourself and that you're working on it. So
yes.
And do you feel like after attending the event and listening to those folks that you have been following through on those goals, and you're feeling better about your time management, or, saying no and stuff like that?
I have. I didn't travel at all the entire month of July, and it was really nice to be home. But I also, one of my clients, picked up, there was a lot more work. And so I found myself not being out as much as I would like. And then I realized, wait, you don't have to work on the weekend. You need to enjoy it. Just slow down. Right. And so I catch myself, because I did really well for a month, and then you get busy, and then I did really well again. And so I just am catching myself. And I think that's important. If you can, that's the first sign. If you can acknowledge it, and you can move on.
Yep, exactly. Well, Cindy, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. As I said, I'm sure it'll be really inspiring to a lot of our listeners, if they're either going through breast cancer or cancer of some sort, or their family members are. So, I really appreciate you being so open and honest with us. And I'm excited to read the book, and I'm excited to see you at some of our upcoming events and continue to work with you on the board. So thanks a lot, and have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you so much. And I do want to add that if anybody is going through anything, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help anybody anytime. So, and thank you for asking me these questions. And it's great working with you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at wirlc.com/podcasts for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.